Good morning. Today I'm making sourdough bread and I'm going to do two types of loaves today. I'm going to do the artisan loaf and then a sandwich loaf. So it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, so that's usually when I feed my starter, and I let it sit for about 5 hours until it doubles in size. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my starter. I already discarded, so I took out some of the starter, so there's a little left right in there. And I'm going to measure out 100 grams of flour. So I got my bread flour, and I'm just going to add it to my container. There's about 100, and then I'm going to do 100 grams of water. I usually like to use room temp water. And then I'm going to stir that. Oh, got my little stir. I'm going to take that and I'm going to incorporate the starter and the flour and water together. Just going to mix it up. Until it's incorporated. All right, so I have my starter incorporated. So now I'm just gonna put the cover on. Actually, I'm not gonna put the glass cover on. I have like a wax wrap. I'm just gonna put on, and I'm gonna let it sit for about 5 hours. It's really not that warm today, so it should take a little bit longer than 4 to 5 hours, so we shall see. And that is it for now, so I'll see you in a bit. Okay guys, so as you can see, my starter has doubled in size. I actually put a elastic band around just to make sure to see that it would double, and it definitely did. It's kind of warm out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take the active starter, and I want about 80 to 100 grams of the active starter to my bowl. So I'm going to do that. There we go. Perfect. And then I want about 360 grams of water. And I'm going to mix that up with my until it is combined. And I'm going to do 500 grams of bread flour into that. And then I'm going to do 11 grams of a fine sea salt. I have the pink Himalayan. So I'm just going to tear that up, and I'm going to do 11 grams. Some people add this later, but I just do it all together. And then what you want to do is you want to mix to combine into a shaggy dough. So I'm just going to really mix my dough to combine. I love this Swedish hook. It really helps you combine the flour and the water and the starter together. And once I get all that mixed, I'm going to let it sit for about a half hour, and then I will start my lifts and folds. So as you can see, my dough has come together, and then I'm going to wait about a half hour. Okay guys, next on to the sandwich loaf. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab about 100 grams of starter. So I'm gonna add that. And 300 grams of water. Mix. Okay, and then I'm gonna add 10 to 20 grams of honey. So that's good. And I'm gonna add that. 11 grams of sea salt. Okay, and then my flour, 500 grams of flour. And I'm just gonna add that. And once again, I'm gonna mix to combine. And then with the sandwich loaf, I do not have to do stretch and folds. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna probably keep it out for the next 5 hours. And then in the evening, before I go to bed, I am going to put it in the fridge for a cool fermentation. So once you get that combined, you're just gonna cover, leave out for 4 to 5 hours, and then you can put it in the fridge. So I got that. I'm gonna put a cover on it, and I will see you for my first stretch and folds for my artisan loaf. So guys, just a correction on my sandwich loaf. I do wanna let it sit out at room temperature between 6 to 8 hours before I put it in the fridge. So I'll be doing that before I go to bed tonight, but I'm just gonna let it sit and ferment for the next 6 to 8 hours. And then tomorrow I will continue with that. Okay guys, so it's been a half hour, so I'm gonna do my first set of lift and folds. What I wanna do is I like to have a little bowl of water on the side for my hands because it does get a little sticky. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dunk my hands into the water, and then I'm gonna pretend this is quarters, so there's 4 sides. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the dough and I'm gonna lift it and bring it in on one side, and then I'm gonna turn, dunk my hand, lift, stretch, and fold. I'm gonna do that again, lift and fold, and then I'm gonna do it again, fold it in, and I'm gonna do it one more time around. So I'm gonna do about 8 lifts and folds. Okay, and the dough seems to come together now. It's not as sticky. So I'm just gonna leave that in there, and then I'm gonna cover it again and leave it on for another half hour, and then I'm gonna continue this 3 more times. So I will see you on my last lift and folds. Okay guys, I'm doing my final lift and folds. So I'm just gonna put my hand in the water again, and I'm gonna lift and fold, lift, and fold. Now you will notice that the dough will come together so much better now. It's not as sticky. And so I'm just gonna shape it, and then I'm gonna leave it in my bowl, and I'm gonna cover it, and I'm gonna let it sit overnight. And then tomorrow we'll do our final shape, and then we'll do our cold fermentation in the refrigerator. And then tonight before I go to bed, I do have my sandwich bread right here. I am gonna put it in the fridge overnight until I bake it tomorrow. Okay guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, now it's next morning, and now I'm gonna shape my loaves and put them in their vessels to bulk ferment in the fridge. So first I have my sandwich loaf. I greased my loaf pan, and now I'm just gonna take a little bit of flour, put it on the table, grab my dough. Let's get all that dough. Feels really good. And then I'm gonna shape it. I'm just gonna bring the sides in, and I'm gonna roll like so into a rectangle, just pretty easy. And then I'm just gonna put it right in the pan. So there you go. And then for my artisan loaf, I'm gonna grab my dough, and wow, sure did rise a lot. Put it on the table, and let's get all those pieces in there. A little bit more flour. And then what I want to do is I want to make it into a rectangle, and I'm going to go around and turn in the sides like so. Really tuck those ends in, and then I'm going to roll it, and then roll it, and then just bring it right towards you until it's nice and tight. There we go. There we go. So you can see I have a nice loaf, and then I'm going to do the seam side up. I got my bandeton with some flour, and I'm just going to flip it right in. Okay, and I'm going to cover these with the wrap, put them in the fridge until I bake them off this afternoon. Okay. Hi guys. Okay, now it's time to bake off my artisan loaf. So I have my loaf that I just took out of the fridge. It's probably been in the fridge for maybe 9 hours, and then I have it there. So, what I like to do is I like to grab my parchment paper and I just crumble it up just so it's easier to put in the Dutch oven. So I preheated my oven to 450, and I put the Dutch oven into the oven as it preheated so it gets nice and hot. So this is super hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over my loaf, and it comes off nice. And then I'm going to do some scoring. I'm not the greatest at making pretty designs, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a nice score right here. I like it nice and, I think I might need a new blade, but that's okay. And then I'll just do little scores here. I really want to be that type of person that can make them look really pretty, but you know, you learn. And then I think I'll do another one right here. Just scoring that dough. All right. And then I'm going to put it into my Dutch oven. And I'm going to put the cover on top, and I'm going to bake it for 30 minutes covered and 30 minutes uncovered. And we'll see. Okay, so now I have my sandwich loaf. I also took it out of the fridge. As you can see, it's nice and risen. And all I'm going to do with my sandwich loaf is I'm just going to score straight down and then throw it in the oven uncovered for 40 to 45 minutes at 375. So I am going to wait until my oven preheats to 375, and then I will put it in the oven and I'll show you when it's done. Hi guys. Okay, my bread is done, and this is real life. I burnt it. Yep, you know, I'm just being real here. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. And today it's burnt, but I still think it's gonna be good. I think what I did was I increased the time for uncovered for 30 minutes, but I think it should be uncovered for 20. So bake for 30, uncover for 20. So I don't know why I did 30 minutes, but it's okay. But look at my sandwich loaf. Isn't that beautiful? So let me just cut into this and show you. Maybe it's gonna be good in the inside. We shall see. All right, let's see. Not bad. She looks good. She's just a little burnt in the top. Not bad. So there's my sourdough. And then my loaf. I don't want to cut it right now just because it's still a little warm, and actually it's been out for like an hour. I'm going to cut that on the inside. Oh, look at that. Very nice. Well, guys, this has been fun. I hope that I inspired someone to make some sourdough, and I hope this video helped, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Bye.